What's going on, Jerome's? Beautiful Friday. Birds are chirping and stuff, and it's time for another Vikings news dump. So, of course, Sunday showdown at historic U.S. Bank Stadium. Lions versus the 5-0 Minnesota Fighting Vikings. Sorry, the low-energy Detroit Lions. And it's a major game for the deciding who is going to be atop of the NFC North when it's all said and done. And our guy Eli Corbett, woo! Love the artwork. Just, you got Justin friggin' Jefferson, battle axe in hand, polished up so you see the reflection of the lion, or maybe the lion's carved into the axe. I don't know, man. But either way, looking good. And Jefferson, as we know, has owned the Lions over the last couple. But the Vikings lost. Who cares? Oh, we're doing hashtag wide receiver wins now. Yeah. Speaking of winning, so it's a beautiful Friday. Margaret is doing her annual school fundraiser, walkathon next week. Total school goal is 20 dimes. Margaret has been doing really fantastic over the last couple of years. Thank you so much to the generosity of the Jeromes over the last couple of years. This year, so apparently they're done with the playground because they did the playground for 2 years in a row. Apparently they crushed it. It's a really nice ass playground, man. And they have what's the game where there's four squares? Oh, Foursquare. No, but now, like you see it at every like school playground, there's like a pen. There's like an octagon. It's like, are they doing UFC at schools? I don't know if I like it, but I kind of like it. Anyways, but this year it's for field trips and special events. I think last year they went to the planetarium, which is awesome. And like I said, you guys crushed playground the last couple of years. All donations, all Venmos, Cash Apps, Super Chats going to be going to Margaret's school through next Friday, October 25th. So again, thank you very much, Jerome's. You guys are amazing. Also amazing is TJ friggin' Hockenson, Kevin Seifert, ESPN, who's not Carl Gershman. Hockenson said he has passed every test by a mile from a medical standpoint. His knee is healed, but obviously the acclimation process takes time. He has no predictions on when he'll play. Likeliest targets are next week in LA versus the Colts, So I understand that, Hockenson and versus the Lions, Hockenson, Dirty Kirby Joseph, all of those storylines are great, but something that I love and respect about Kevin O'Connell is that they're very, don't want to say they play very safe with injuries, but they make sure that the player is 100% before they're back on the field. And part of it is it's a marathon, not a sprint. I mean, 17-game season, and whether it's Addison, whether it's Hockenson, whether it's Risner, O'Connell at his pressers is always talking about it's a long season, right? So, what's the point of rushing a guy back and then maybe he has a setback? It's just... but Hockenson this week, how he responds to practice, is going to go a long way in determining when he'll be back. For my money, I don't think that he plays on Sunday, and if he doesn't play on Sunday, I don't think he plays on the short week against the Rams. I think that his likely return is going to be Week 9 against the Colts, which I'm perfectly fine because, there's still a ton of season left, and I'm making sure that he is 100% also in game condition. It will go a long way. Also, I think Jefferson sort of gave the game away a little bit. Seifert again. Justin Jefferson on TJ Hockenson. I was wanting him to come back this week, but sadly he has to get that preparation of being in front of people, and he's scared of being in front of people and running routes on people, but we'll have him soon, so I'm definitely looking forward to it. So I was wanting him back this week, but sadly he's got to get blah, blah, blah. So maybe O'Connell had confided with team leadership or even with the entire team that Hockenson won't be back. So I don't know, like maybe it's Jefferson just giving away a little bit. But what's really neat too is from Alec Lewis, the Athletic. Thought it was cool that TJ Hockenson said Vikings ownership had been in touch with him to support multiple times during his rehab. Haven't really heard that a ton. And that really does speak to the culture, and we give O'Connell and Kwesi a lot of credit for the culture, and Flores too. But ownership, same thing, right? So the Wilfs, they're fantastic owners in that they stay out of the media spotlight, like they don't have a weekly radio spot like Jerry Jones, and they pay good money and they invest in the team and the facilities and U.S. Bank Stadium, and then they hire good people and let them work. And with Hockenson, like owners, you've seen it commonly, like if a star quarterback is coming back from injury. But Hockenson, he's a major part of this team. But he's not the star quarterback, right? But the fact that the owners are still checking in on all of the guys, and I'm sure that this flies under the radar. I'm sure that they checked in on Lewis Cine. I'm sure that they checked in on players that have had significant injuries. So it's really fantastic to see, and does speak to the culture here in the great state of Minnesota with the Vikings. Also, Aaron Jones, I don't think he's going to play on Sunday, but he was at practice in a limited capacity on Thursday, out there doing some stuff and some things. And basically what Jones and O'Connell had said is that it comes down to how his body does respond to practice on Thursday. So, who knows if he was able to go a full go, even as a limited participant, as well as, like we said, it's about how things respond. Like, how are you the day after? Like, are you sore? Is there lingering issues, etc.? But, it is paramount to get Jones back to 100%. And if he doesn't, it's like Hockenson. If he doesn't play Sunday, I don't think he plays on the short week against the Rams. And maybe that's why the Vikings made the Cam Akers trade now versus waiting until the trade deadline, week 9. So we'll see what happens with Jones. But I do trust that O'Connell and company will make the right, if a little bit too conservative with injuries, but it will be the correct decision. Other teams running games. So everyone talk about the Lions. Oh, the Lions. Oh, look at them. They're second in the league in rushing yards, as well as number 2 in rushing touchdowns. It's a major part. Like David Montgomery and Jahmyr Gibbs, Sonic and Knuckles, they're fantastic, man. ESPN Next Gen Stats. Jahmyr Gibbs, 53.3%, David Montgomery, 53.2%, ranked 3rd and 4th respectively in rush success rate on runs from under center, behind only Bergeron and Kyron Williams, a minimum of 25 carries. Vikings defense, 31.4% UC rush success. I don't know what that means. Rate allowed 2nd in the NFL. So it's something that has to give. And the run game has been fantastic. The Lions have one of the best offensive lines in the game. But the Vikings, they're 4th in the league in rushing yards allowed per carry, and they've been bringing it. And it really is about attitude. It really is about run fits. And even without Cashman, I do think that the Vikings have that personnel to be able to match the Lions bar for bar in terms of running game. So it's going to be a huge collision. I think this is going to be a major Ivan Pace Jr. game. Plus, also, I think Harrison Phillips, who generally does the dirty work, I think that he's going to be a leading man in this game. Also, speaking of leading man, the offense coordinator leading the Lions offense, Ben Johnson, been the cat's ass in terms of head coaching candidate over the last couple of years. I think that he will take a job this year. He returned to Detroit saying that he had unfinished business. Whatever. Yeah. But Will Birchfield, Lions OC Ben Johnson on unloading the trick plays last week versus the Cowboys. I'm not worried about putting things on tape. If anything, it's going to set up the next thing down the road. The well is deep. Ooh, the well is deep. Oh, congratulations on having so many trick plays. Yeah, I'm sure that Flores spent 0.00 seconds on the Penei Sewell hook and lateral or the Dan Skipper lined up at the X receiver spot. All right, but this is really hyped up too, because the game within the game of Vikings versus Lions is Ben Johnson, seen as one of the best young offensive play callers in the game, and Brian friggin' Flores. All right, so this, if and when Flores and the Purple Haze defense shuts down Ben Johnson and the alleged high-powered Lions offense, I mean, that's gonna be the feather in the cap. That is going to be the Heisman moment. That's going to be everything for Flores in this defense. So can't wait, man. Also, can't wait until Ed Ingram is benched for Dalton Risner. Purple Persuasion, per Ben Gessling on Access Vikings, he got a vibe that Vikings guard Dalton Risner is expecting to be out of there. Gessling also believes current right guard Ed Ingram is expected to be out there. Gessling also believes current right guard Ed Ingram leash is not terribly long, and if Ingram struggles again, the switch to Risner is imminent. Quote, I got a little bit of a vibe the way Dalton Risner talked the other day, and I don't know this for sure, but I got a little bit of the vibe like, yeah, I'm expecting to be out there. I think if Ed Ingram struggles again, I don't think the switch would be very far away at right guard. And Ingram, who has been solid as a run blocker, and he's been great out as one of the worst guards in the National Football League, and it just hasn't worked, right? And even though Risner is eligible to return from the injured reserve list now, TBD if they activate him before Sunday. His status has been a little bit more under the radar, but with that back injury, like not being able to do as much, and getting his cardio back up and getting him back into game shape where he could play a full game, like that is going to be paramount. So maybe they see what Ingram can do this week against the real deal with Aleem McNeil as well as Levi Muzariki. Like the Lions, even without Hutchinson, they still can bring it on the interior. So this could be it. Like if Ed Ingram struggles this week, it wouldn't shock me at all if they activate Risner for the Rams game and get him up and good to go. Yeah, also good to go. So the Vikings did trade for Cam Akers, adding some depth at running back. Now, they said it wasn't so much about Aaron Jones, but it was part of it. Yeah, but apparently they kicked the tires and lit the fires on another running back, and Kwesi's not afraid to trade in division. Vikes fan page, before acquiring Cam Akers, the Vikings had dialogue on a trade with the Bears on running back Khalil Herbert. Darren Doogie-Wolfson mentioned on Score North. Minnesota absolutely had interest in Herbert, but Chicago wouldn't agree with the terms Minnesota displayed. And I do like Herbert. He was a 2021 sixth-round pick out of Virginia Tech, played a lot of his college ball at Kansas, and he's been a decent backup with the Bears, but of course stuck behind Swift and Rashawn Johnson, not really getting the time of day. But I do think that Herbert is a solid, borderline RB2, RB3 type guy, and would have been fine. But apparently Ryan Poles, he's scared about giving Khalil Herbert in division to the Vikings. Happens. Sorry, we'll roll Cam Akers, man. Also rolling with. Alec Lucy Athletic had a phenomenal long-form piece on the Vikings and specifically the Vikings defense over at The Athletic. Go check that out. But a great quote from the article was from Mike Pettin, so assistant head coach as well as outside linebackers coach. Quote, it was not just, here's how we see this guy as a player, but it was, here's how we plan to use this guy. Talking about the player evaluation process, whether it's in the draft or free agency. And it's a subtle distinction. And I feel like the draft, too much, it's like, what can, this player does this, and this, and this, right? But it's a subtle distinction of catering to the player's strengths, what can he do for this team specifically. And it goes all the way back to Belichick with the Browns when they did player evaluation, because instead of just the generic, what you see nowadays, draft Twitter, draft evaluations and stuff, it's how can this player specifically fit to what we do in terms of our scheme on defense, offensively, special teams as well. What's his ceiling? What can he bring to the table? And too much of draft evaluation is focused on what a player can't do. But what can the player do? Like, what can he bring to the table? So I think that's what the Vikings have really done. And what's great about Flores is that his scheme, like if you watch him and Belichick's defenses, like in the Super Bowl against Jared Goff, Super Bowl 53, his defenses with the Patriots, his defenses with the Dolphins, his input with the Steelers that one year, as well as, his defense here this season versus last season's night and day. Right. So, and part of it is players getting familiar with the scheme, but also there's unlimited wrinkles with what Flores can bring. And I think that the Vikings had a huge free agency class as well as a couple picks in the draft, and focusing on what the players can specifically bring to what Flores wants to do, and then Flores molds his defense around his players. I think it's really fantastic, man. So again, small distinction. Go check that out over at The Athletic. Also, I know people get mad. It's like, well, we still talk about Kirk Cousins. It's funny. Like Kurt's been in Atlanta for like 3 months. He's completely bought in. I'm surprised he didn't do this press conference with his grill in. Plus, I'm pretty sure he quoted rap lyrics in his presser. But talk about mom spaghetti. Come on, B-Rabbit. Hey, B-Rabbit, just wait till you come back to U.S. Bank Stam House of Pain. They're going to flex that into Sunday Night Football, and you're going down. Said. Also, fantastic news. Good Morning Football, show I love. Generally, it's propaganda free. I had to not watch it on Monday because I know that there would be gushing about the Lions, but also I feel like Brandt and Schrager are generally pretty fair when it comes to the Vikings. But also the host Jamie Erdahl is from the great state of Minnesota, born and raised here, and she wears her fandom on her sleeve. Something that I really like and respect. And Kevin O'Connell was on Good Morning Football, and he announced that the Vikings are inviting Jamie to blow the Gallahorn Week 9 against the Colts. So that's awesome. It's a huge honor. Everyone gets super hyped up. Everyone do the bump, skull, and then the horn. It's cool, man. It's fantastic. And love how the Vikings fans, they reward long-time fans, long-time players, all that stuff. So, yeah, fantastic story. Really happy for Jamie. There you go. But that is it. Vikings News up on this wonderful Friday. You guys are the best. You know what to do. Skull Production Value.